Greetings, I'm Dr. Sean Reed, author of the Dating Toolbox, available on Amazon.com. So guys, if you like what you see in here today, please hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, so today I want to talk about how to avoid these 11 first date mistakes. So you might be thinking, oh gosh, I got to do these 11 things, that's kind of complicated. Actually, guys, it's simple. We're trying to do one thing. What is the goal of that first date? To drive her interest level higher, to get her to start falling in love with you. As a matter of fact, guys, that is the goal on the first date, the second, the third date. That's the goal 6 months into a relationship. That is the goal 20 years into a marriage. All right, guys. So even though we've got a lot of things here and you might be thinking, oh gosh, this is kind of overwhelming, it's kind of complicated. Really, the goal is simple. And that is to drive a woman's interest level, to get her to love you and stay in love with you. And these are 11 important things not to do on the first date. So as we go through this video, you're going to get an understanding of the things you don't want to do and the things you do want to do on that first date to drive her interest level up. Okay, so number one, don't over text over phone. Okay, remember guys, the purpose of the phone is to make that date. All right. So ideally, I always like to call a woman up. I always like to get her on the phone and talk to her. I know that in today's world, sometimes women and people in general only like to have text conversations. So, okay. But the idea here is once you get the date, stop texting, stop talking on the phone. It's not going to improve things. You're not going to drive interest level up. You're only probably going to ruin things and ruin the date. So I see these guys, they'll text the gal, they'll get some good text going, she'll accept the date, and then they make the mistake of continuing to text back and forth once the date is set. Don't do that, guys. A lot of people think, well, I need to get to know each other. You're not really going to do that over text or over the phone. Okay, so on the forum, this one guy, he was texting this girl for weeks, but when they met, there was just no chemistry. So don't waste your time, don't waste your energy on a lot of texting and phone, okay? The way I always used to do it, of course, this was a while ago, but I'd get a girl on the phone, I'd get 5-10 minutes of witty, snappy conversation, get her laughing, get her smiling, make that date, and then get out. Okay, so we don't text, we don't phone until the date comes up. All right. Number two, don't ask for a date while on a date. Huge mistake. Remember, guys, the importance of challenge in a relationship. So if you're on a date and you're asking her for another date while on that date, that kills all sense of challenge. Okay, so you want a date to go well. You want her hoping that you'll call her or text her and ask for another date, but you will kill that challenge if you ask for a date while on a date. So we don't ask for a date while on a date. Okay, number three, dinner dates. Don't do them, okay? Dinner dates are nothing but trouble. There are a number of reasons why. First of all, if it's a first date, she doesn't love you yet. She doesn't have a high interest in you, and you're going to be sitting there for an hour and a half talking. That is the domain of women. Yes, we can learn how to master conversation and get good at it. But the bottom line is the more you're stuck in a situation of only doing talking on the first date, the greater are the chances that you're going to say one little thing, you're going to do one little thing, you're going to chew with your mouth open, right? And it's going to kill her interest level. She doesn't love you yet, so don't do a dinner date. Also, when you're spending a lot of money early on in a relationship, we'll talk about this, who should pay for dates early on. Men should pay for dates. But you don't want to spend $200 on a dinner date because that sends the message, your value is higher than mine and I have to pay you in order to be out with you. So we don't do dinner dates on the first dates or the second dates, maybe the third or fourth date. Generally, my rule is we don't do dinner dates till after we've had sex. I'll talk about that in a moment on whether or not you should pursue sex on a first date. So we don't do dinner dates, we do action dates. I'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but we do action dates. golfing, miniature golfing, bowling, the mall. Going to the mall is a great action date. The action is the realm of men. Talk is the realm of women. So action dates greatly reduce the chance that we're going to say or do something that'll turn her off. So action dates are great early on. I'll talk about that more in a moment. First, I want to talk about spinning plates. What do I mean by spinning plates? Okay, spinning plates means that I am seeing more than one woman. We talked about this before. I coach my men to date 3 women at once, to always be getting phone numbers, to always be getting dates, to always starting conversations. That gives us options. If you're only seeing this one woman, you become desperate, you become needy, and that's going to be a big turnoff to her. So we always want to spin plates, right? So you're dating this one woman, but you're also seeing or talking to other women. And again, this isn't cheating. Cheating is if you promise a girl monogamy and then see other women. We do not promise monogamy yet. I talked about that in other videos. Kind of gets beyond the scope of this video, but we always want to keep our options going. Okay, number 5, too much information on a date. You want to get her talking. The general goal here is you want a woman to do 65% of the talking on a date. Don't overshare. Control your information. Guard it jealously, because sharing too much can ruin things. Okay, I've talked about this before. I was on a date once early on when I was single. I hadn't developed my system, and I made the mistake. I thought the date was going great, so I shared this information with the girl. I told her I'm a recovering alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in 35 years. So at that point, I had not had a drink in quite a while. I was successfully sober, but the message she got was that I was some kind of drunk. So I shared that I was a recovering alcoholic. I thought the date was going well up to that point. She kind of clammed up. Then when I called her up to ask for another date, she said, "No, thank you, I'm not interested." And I said, "Why?" Asked why. And she said, "Well, you really turned me off when you told me you were a recovering alcoholic." So don't overshare on this first date. Control information. That's related to also don't do a lot of bragging. Don't brag about your job. She's going to know what you do. She's going to draw that information out. Don't brag about your car. If I have a blue BMW and a woman says, "What kind of car do you drive?" I'll say, "It's a 2-door. She'll say, "Well, what kind?" I'll say, "It's blue." And then she'll keep bugging me. Finally, I say, all right, it's a BMW. Don't brag about that stuff. Make women pry that information out of you. She asks, "Oh, you like martial arts?" I'm like, "Yes." And I don't go into a tirade and brag about all the people I trained in the Tyson camp. I taught for Henzo. I don't brag about that. I just keep that. And she'll ask me, "Oh, what belt do you have?" And I'll say, "Well, I've got a blue belt and a black belt, in different styles." Don't overshare. Don't brag, guys. She will learn if she likes you, she's going to learn everything about you eventually. Make her draw that information out of you. Okay, so don't share too much information. Try and get her to do as much talking as possible. Number 6, you must have a plan. Okay, plan out your dates. Go in when you call a woman, and I know this requires some work. You must have a plan for that date. Not having a plan is a bad thing. Okay, now we've also talked about the fact, so you're going to put some effort into this. Generally, what I recommend is for a first date is something simple like meeting for coffee. I don't go out, I don't spend Saturday nights with a girl. I'll go see her Sunday afternoon. I'll meet her for coffee, and I make sure the coffee shop is always close to the mall. So if the coffee date goes well, we can then do an action date. That's called a venue change. And again, that's a way to speed along the relationship, but I'll plan. So if the coffee goes well, then I'll take her shopping. Again, we're not shopping to buy her expensive gifts. Generally, I'll go shopping for a shirt for myself. But the idea here is we have a plan. And that's why we put effort into our plan. That's why we don't accept women that try and negotiate early dates. If you have a plan for coffee or drinks in the mall or drink, or something else, and she wants an expensive dinner, Get her out of there, guys. Don't bother dating her, but you must have a plan. Okay. 7, being late. That's going to be kind of self-explanatory. If you're 5 minutes late, that's okay. But if you're 20 minutes late, that's not okay. I always argue if a woman is more than 20 minutes late, you leave. So don't be late. That's a no-brainer. Don't talk about your ex. That's another interest level killer. And if a woman likes you, she's going to ask you, have you ever been married? Don't dwell on your ex-wife. But my answer to that is, only 6 or 7 times, but I think the next one will work, right? Ha ha ha. I'm joking about it I'm not going to allow myself to be drawn into a conversation where you're going to sit around and say what a bitch your ex-wife was. That's only going to kill her interest level. Okay. Another number 9, don't check on your phone constantly. That's very rude. If you've ever been on a date with a woman that sits on her phone the whole time, you know what a turnoff that is. Number 10, don't be rude to service people. So if you're out for drinks, don't be rude to the waitress, tip her properly. That's another big turnoff that you don't want to get involved in. Finally, and this is going to be controversial, but I argue don't pursue sex on that first date. We're going to get a kiss. We want to get a kiss on the lips, but don't pursue sex. It's been my experience as a nearly 63-year-old man that when I had sex on the first date, the relationships usually didn't work out. So we're pursuing a relationship. We're not pursuing sex. What is interesting, though, is usually by the third date, sex would happen. And what the thing here is you need to drive her interest level up before she has sex with you. There are a number of problems here. If she's having sex with a guy she doesn't have a high interest level in, that means she's probably going to have attachment issues. She's probably going to have a very high body count. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons why you don't want a woman with high body count. It's pretty self-explanatory. But you don't want to pursue sex on the first date. Sex later, there's a big difference between sex on the third date and on the first date. By the third date, she's gotten high interest level. You've had a good first 2 dates. Her interest level after that first date is up in the 70s. Her interest level after that second date is up in the 80s. So by the third date, her interest level in you is in the 90s. Women with high, so she's falling in love. Women with high interest level will want to have sex with you. And, in case the sex isn't perfect, she's still going to have very high interest level in you. All right, guys. So again, these are 11 first date mistakes we want to avoid. Remember, though, it's real simple. Our primary purpose is to drive her interest level up. Okay, guys. So if you like what you saw, what you heard, please hit that like and subscribe button. Again, my book is available on Amazon.com. Below, you'll see a link to it. If you're interested, it's $13. It'll change your dating life. You guys, we need to create a dating community. So if you have any questions, please post them up in the comments. One of the things we used to do 20 years ago in the seduction communities is we used to do something called field reports about our dates. So we would talk with other men about what happened on our dates, and we would learn and improve our dating behavior. And guys, that's a great idea. We want to have a sense of community. All right, guys, so happy dating.